Hello everyone. Today I am going to talk about my past publication, small book, sketchbook called Rosca. Uh, Rosca was a book that I actually would still have in print if I could get the printing company to produce the same quality that it was producing prior to COVID. So I am still going to do another couple tests to see if they got their act together. I don't know why it would have been a problem during COVID because nothing changed. And it's not like they needed employees. Everything was for this particular job because it was already done. All they had to do was print it. So not sure why their quality dropped so dramatically. And it dropped so much that I had to pull the book because I didn't want anyone buying that. Um, anyway, that being said, um, not many people got this book, and so I thought it would be kind of a fun thing to go over the book and talk about it because I may be bringing it back. This book went through several iterations, and what it was is that it I had um, far more content than I realized, and there's a compilation of drawings that I put together they're drawings that I did at night after work hours, um, and it's from my time in when I still lived in Southern California, and then moved to Nevada and Texas. Uh, uh, in all of that period where I was just um, gathering sketches. And still, I have many, enough for another book, which, again, I still have to see if the printer that I was using, and the reason I'm not using another printer because it was convenient for me, so I didn't have to put any money out of pocket. I just got the orders from you that were interested, and I was able to purchase the books, and the markup was much lower than it would be if I went to um, a printer. Anyways, at the size that I was working, if I'd gone to an actual printer and pre-printed all the books, it would cost me all the money up front, and I would have a limited amount of books. But this way, I was able to actually change the book every time uh, I mean, in intervals, I should say, rather than every. In intervals, I could change it, and that's what I was about to say. That there are many iterations. This is the last iteration. This is Rasca White. I went through the original three, which were a reddish maroon colored cover, the purple and the green all came out at the same time, and it's just wanted to do. I couldn't make a, a decision as to what color the book should be. I liked all of them, so I just did all three. And then I added more content, and I did Rosca Orange, which was a bigger book, which was had about maybe 10% more content. Then Rosca Blue, which was even more content, and Rosca White, which is enough to where I probably could have made it an addendum anyway. Uh, but there it is. And so let's go through the book. Um, so again, these are sketches that I did at night, and some of them are loose, and uh, some of them were in sketchbooks. And the the captured series was in this book, and the captured series was all about. And here's all the forward. The captured series, which this little drawing is part of, was really just talking about people's vices and things, uh, and how they get captured by them when those things dominate every aspect of your life. And they're almost like these mini gods that take over people's lives. And you can tell. when you run into these people for whatever vice that they are or behavior that they're captured by, right? Um, and this is captured series. Um, Again, I literally I just started drawing, and I felt what it was immediately and then I started getting into it and drawing more of these people that were captured by their vices, but in a fantastic way. These creatures, um, a little manga-esque in the way, and that's why I did this one very Japanese-ame, uh, where he's got a monk and he's holding on to him. Um, some of these characters, the humans are pretty strong. You know, I have the male figure and they're pretty strong, and you still can't. I mean, in this character, you could see that even his arm is being affected, where he's starting to change. The vice is actually changing him. His right arm is being transformed, and his left hand is actually captured completely. So even though he's a strong guy, he's rendered powerless by this vice that overtakes him. This guy's already in him, and that happens quick, right? I mean, look at all the eyes and everything on this guy, um, on his left side, but it's in his bowels, so he's out of control, actually. And this guy's being choked, red-faced, by his vice. The pink actually amplifies some of the inner organ kind of. I don't know if you want to call it sexual or, but I just wanted it to feel, yeah, like the innards. They have this guy captured. Maybe that's he's captured deep with envy. This guy. These are other drawings I had done for a sculpting class. Um, and this class had to do with form and how to abstract form. And these drawings, this one actually I never turned in because I'm keeping that for myself. I'm actually going to sculpt this. Still want to, haven't had the time because I'm busy working every night and every day. So one of these days, I will get to it um, before I die, I swear. This was for the class. I might actually sculpt this one, but my class did pretty good with this one figure right here. I think because it was almost conventional in that it is a female figure, right? I mean, it's abstracted, but it's still accessible for most people, and most people can understand what they're seeing here. If you look at this, you'll have to interpret that, right? Because what are you going to, I mean, is this the whole arm? How do you slide all that anatomy and spread it out, right? Because it's no longer a cylinder, then what is it? Or is it cylindrical right here when it's not here? You know, there's all kinds of interpretation you have to make, and being able to manage that in the front view. So that was the class. Um, and here's another one that I gave to the class. It's a fun sculpting class, actually. That one I actually enjoyed the most, probably because of it was more in my realm of where I like to dwell. I like to live there. Uh, Here is another one. This one I never turned in either. I may still do that one for myself. A little Bekchinsky-esque. Um, but I was living here even before I knew what Bekchinsky's work was. So I just discovered it and just confirmed that I was on a track where I saw someone else take it really far. So I knew, once I saw his work, I knew where not to go. even though I had a natural inclination to go there, I'm still fighting, trying to stay away from that direction that he went in. Um, Here are the figures that I actually offered in Blind Spot, my previous book, even to Rosca, um, which I still have actually. That is the contrast that I pre-printed those books, and I still have them in inventory. So, but this was actually a drawing that I would put in the first. Uh, I don't know how many that I sold. I was numbering them and offering this, and then I just lost track and couldn't do it anymore because, again, I work all the time and I don't have the bandwidth to concentrate on everything. I have a lot of things I want to do, and sometimes um, I get very sure that I'm going to be able to do it, and in the end, I can't because I don't have the time. And it's unfortunate because you come off as being flaky uh, when you're trying to, you're saying that you're going to do something and you just never do it. Um, but I'm just really busy. I work, and these are the drawings from that. From inside the book, I was putting these on the inner, uh, on the cover, on the inner page, the first page, front page of the book. And that's half the drawing. There's the other half. This group here. That's a pretty big drawing. These are not little drawings. That one is. Uh, Not that little, but little in the sense that it's, not a, these are bigger. This one fits on a 14 by 17 sheet of paper. Um, I don't get to draw in this way that much anymore because most of the clients require a lot more information in the design that I do. And so I have to work in graphite, which is a harder, it's a harder leaded drawing tool. This is actually pretty soft. And when I worked in animation, I would draw in this pencil and wax pencil and Prismacolor. And since there's no detail there, it's all, you know, very stylized, simple shapes for 2D animation. I was able to get away with this for a good part of my career. I brought it into film when I first started working, but quickly had to make the transition because I needed to put more detail in the more information on the characters. Anyways, I needed to add more information, and so I needed to make the transition to graphite. Um, this is a graphite drawing in a big moleskin. I think it's a something by 10 by 17, I believe. Uh, it's a big one. Uh, and so is that drawing. It's also in the big moleskin that I have. I have several of them. Only one that I started, maybe two that I started working in. This drawing actually is part of a group of drawings that I intended to actually try and sculpt. That's the other side of this. So there he is. It's just this horse that turns into cloth. And I do want to sculpt that. I just haven't had the time. One day. These are these shadow people. This is for a project actually that I was never really sanctioned officially to work on. So I kept the drawings. And yeah, I can't say too much about it because I kept the drawings. The project um, never went anywhere. It was never even pitched, I don't believe. So um, yeah, and I kept all the drawings. Anyways, most of those drawings like these, when you do them for a company that you're working for, they they either they put them away and they archive them and they rot. They essentially just sit there and they rot. And for most of the projects that were never uh, official, they could care less about them. I was working at a place where they were destroying the molds of sculptures and very famous things. They were just destroying the molds, and then they wanted them back, and they didn't realize that they had destroyed them. Um, like a year later, we were looking at them. You guys destroyed everything. What do you mean? When you destroy a mold, that's it. It's done. And you don't remember that the words came out of your mouth to destroy them. Um, this is what you deal with when you work for um, people that aren't aware of the value of artwork. So, uh, yeah. So small jobs like this that either never happened or never got pitched. I either got copies or I kept the artwork because it was never even shown to anybody, and I just either worked harder on another project to make up the time or whatever. Anyway, there it is. And so here are some drawings that I did just because I put down my pencil and it turned into this. And most of these are explorations of volumes and shapes and me trying to just have fun with the way that shapes work together. Then I get a feeling of theatrics that I feel like drawing that expression down and adding to this exploration of form that I'm doing, and then they turn into things like this or that. This actually ended up being the American flag, the old flag, and it's begging and praying, uh, praying to God, you know. And I have a version of it that I made as a mini poster, um, but yeah, that was like this one was actually a lot of fun. It evolved to become what it became in the end. Um, it just started off with the drawing, and then I started feeling it as I was going. So, uh, I mean, it doesn't happen like that all the time, right? Um, there's no formula for that. For anyone that's asking the question, is that the way that you always do it? No, it's not the way I always approach this stuff. Um, but it is a way. This is another one that it feels like they're running. Um, I just felt like running dogs based on stuff I had seen that by Sid Mead and others that have done running animals, and I felt like doing something that was like an alien dog creature thing. Just I just felt like doing that. Abstract figures, theatrics at the same time, and I just wanted the energy of that line moving through this figure. Same thing here. I like the round shapes collapsing on each other and twisting, uh, maybe cartoonizing the action and the way the rhythm that muscles actually have to twist and move around and overemphasizing that action, right? And again, same thing. This is after or during Prometheus, this drawing, or before. No, it was about the same time, yeah, because that head started showing up. Um, I did a couple of drawing classes that online, design drawing classes, and this was part of the one of the classes, anyways. Um, one of the demos I did, working in drawing in Mischief and then bringing it into Photoshop and just doing a quick color over. This was actually for a project that never went anywhere. I had done the drawing at home, so I kept it. It never went anywhere. Um, what was the name of the? Actually, I think no, it never got made. Would have been a lot of fun. This one, I have a lot of artwork for that one that I had done. At least, let's see, one, two, three, four keyframe images and several designs. This one included. A lot of fun. I think no, it wasn't for the Huntsman. It may have been actually. This one may have been for the Huntsman, so it did get made. But this was for an earlier version of it, um, I believe. There were several that happened at the same time, literally at the same time, and so I get them confused because they are very similar projects. Sorry. um, this is a page that I had while I literally had it just next to me when while I was talking on the phone, I just start drawing. Um, and here's the other side. This Mexican Frankenstein character called Gomez. I thought that would be funny. Yeah. More drawings, explorations, and form. Uh, just training my mind, getting stuff for the future, projects, things, directions that I want to go later. A lot of this showed up in my later work and the stuff that I'm doing now, actually. So this was my exploration time, and it didn't show up in any of the work at that time until now, uh, which is years later. Uh, this was for another sculpting class I had done with anatomy tools, which is when I did I did most of my sculpting classes with. The sculpting classes actually were all done there. What am I saying? The drawing classes were not. The sculpting classes were all done with anatomy tools. Andrew Carr's over there, and it was a fun one. This one I was trying to block this one out really fast, but the scale was too big on this guy for me to block it out in the 1 hour limit that I had there. Uh, but yeah. Anyway, fun character, lion man kind of thing that it was part of the class demo. I really enjoyed those sculpting classes, actually. Those were a lot of fun because they were focused on design and you know it's interesting. The one that I was talking about earlier, uh, a lot of people that were in the class really got upset during the class because they were hitting their wall of creativity, and that was the whole point, is to push everybody to that point of frustration, because if you can get past it, that means that you've made a step into another level of your understanding and ability to imagine and create, right? Usually when you hit those walls, it's all about getting past them. And how do you do that? That's a personal effort right there. No one can really teach you that. You have to get past it, though. The only thing that I can do as a teacher is actually put those walls in front of you and make it frustrating for you, so that way you are forced to grow. It's kind of like it's the agitation, right? That's how you get big when you work out. You in the gym, and muscles get bigger. Uh, that's how pearls are created, you know, through through uh, through abrasion. Beautiful things happen if you can just manage yourself and not allow the frustration to take you over, but to assess what is going on so you can grow. Um, these are exciting times, right? You get less of these put in front of you as you get older and you have mileage, so you have to look for them. And that's why I try different mediums all the time. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you'll notice that I'm trying different things. I don't want to get stuck on one way of doing what I do. I like to find different mediums and see what happens if I mix them up to see what happens, you know? And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. You just throw it away, right? Um, and there you go. Uh, for example, this one has some alcohol rubbing in it, but the alcohol dried up on the cotton ball, and so I just started rubbing the the material, the drawing material, which was a this is a I forget what color exactly this is. For it's not an indigo blue. This is the ultramarine blue, I believe, Prismacolor, and or violet blue or blue. Anyway, it's one of those, and just rubbing it with a cotton ball, it gets a similar effect that the alcohol does. The only thing that the big difference between the alcohol rub, putting a little bit of isopropyl on your cotton ball and rubbing over your drawing to blend everything, is that you have to know how much and at what percentage the isopropyl is, and it has to be at a very low percentage, like 70, almost like rubbing alcohol. It can't be any higher because it will erase your image. So uh, and so, but once it starts drying, it still keeps it still rubs the drawing material around. So you it still works in a way. So I'm just throwing that out there because I've had a lot of people ask me questions because they couldn't get it to work, that the isopropyl would actually erase their image. And yeah, well, you know what it was back in the day, I would actually just grind rough into the paper, and there was so much drawing material on there. It was just scribbles. You could smell the wax melting because I would just be, I'd be drawing and rubbing, all this material all over the place, right? And so if I put the alcohol in even a higher grade, um, like say 90%, sure, it would just, all it would do is clean up all those marks, and I would be left with an underpainting essentially of my idea. So I already knew where I wanted to go. I could start the drawing with all that material there as an underpainting. And I could erase out, add back in, and it gave me a really interesting surface to work with. So anyway, pretty fun. This one was another experiment for me. Uh, I know that it's done, but for me, this was my first time doing it. Just throwing the oil paint directly over the graphite drawing and painting on bristle that was not fixed. That was not. There was no gesso on this. It just ate up the oil paint. But I have to say this was a lot of fun. I actually really love this way of working. I haven't had the opportunity to get back to it. Again, I work, and so I have to turn in, and they don't care how I do it. So they just want it done, the work done, and they need it when they need it. So I don't have the opportunity to sit and create artwork all the time, but I try to put as much artwork in what I do as I can. So this is oil paint directly on the bristle board. Lots of fun. This was also the same. Uh, another page, and it was just fun sketching this way. Honestly, so much fun. I worked in animation for 2D animation, like I said earlier, for many years. And one of the ways I like to design my characters was with this hard line. This is the early 80s when I was working that way. I decided to go back to that for the design of this character and this character to bring some of that, what I was doing in 2D and actually add the rendering style that I had been working in. Um, so these were for the same project, personal project that never went anywhere. Uh, Semi-personally was for a group of us that were trying to get the project together, and I had done some artwork for it. There you go. And sketchbook, just drawing creatures, having fun drawing creatures. This is for a project that died and went nowhere. Here's the alcohol rub, and then I brought it after I had this all roughed out and the vague image of this character there. I had no time to sit and play with it and have fun with the medium, so I scanned it and started illustrating in Photoshop. Same project, same character, just a different version of him. Same thing, the alcohol rub over a quick rough, um, and then illustrating in Photoshop. This is from my space zombie project. Uh, it's just something I'm screwing around with. Again, for the same project. My chance to do a space Skeletor, which honestly I would love to do. This me trying this high green sketch paper. I didn't really like it very much. I have a sketchbook. It's a beautiful sketchbook. The grain is a little bit too heavy for me. I don't like it that much. But I draw in it every once in a while. Still trying to give it a chance because it's such a pretty color. It's just the grain is a little bit too much for the way I like to draw. This sketch was done. This and the next sketch were done in Mischief, the program that doesn't exist anymore apparently. Um, Unbelievable, because this was one of the few cool digital drawing programs, the one that I liked anyways. Um, and I just liked how delicate it was, and it felt delicate. I know you're going to tell me that you can do that in Photoshop, sure, but it wasn't like Mischief. It's not the same. Anyway, a really great drawing program. I think I forget which other big program. I want to say Autodesk, but I'm not going to say that. Someone absorbed it and took it, and it's part of their package now. Um, you might have to look around for that. Uh, I still have it, fortunately, so and it's great. So another one done in Mischief. Like I said, this is a fun drawing program if you want to draw. I wish they had made it available for the iPad because the iPad would have been much more interesting to me as a digital sketchbook um, when I travel and all that sort of stuff. Um, because I do like using Art Studio on my phone. It makes more sense. I have it on the iPad, and yeah, it's pretty good. Procreate is pretty good. Um, Again, I really like Mischief as far as sketching tool goes. I thought it was the most interesting one. This is me just screwing around. I had this picture in my head of that head, and so I wanted to draw it. Then I added a body. That's all. And this one I just started drawing, and that came out. I'm no planning on that. I don't know what that is. It is what it is. There's the hand, and there's the body. Similar pose. I guess it's the effect of the movie The Thing when I was a teenager. Uh, that I like drawing this stuff. I was fortunate enough to work with Rob Bottin for years. Uh, and a sculpting monster of a man. Um, he has a sculptural. He has a sensitivity towards sculpture, and he critiques it in a very classical way. And I learned a lot working with him. Actually, um, I learned a lot working with him and Rick Baker. Rick taught me just because he allowed me to do what I do, and so he made a place for me to just draw and go nuts. And it was essentially like a wealthy patron allowing me to do whatever I want to do based on the project that we were given. So I was able to reinvent myself past the my days in animation and literally walk from the animation studio to work at Rick Baker's and design creatures for Men in Black. And I had well, I'm not going to get into the whole story of that part of my career, but so he created a platform, like an area of space for me to be able to work. So he was like the rich patron, essentially saying, just go to town, right? Let's see what you do. And in that, I learned a lot. Um, you know, it was he was like the very kind of chilled kind of father, saying, yeah, yeah, whatever you do, man, that's cool, and he was, always very supportive. And Rob was the exact opposite. He would watch every single line you threw down. So at Rick's, I got my craziness, my imagination completely tuned, right? And I was focused, and my hand to mind control was there, and I knew what to do. And it was still evolving, obviously, from that time, but I got it working. That was the big kickstart. And when I went to work for Rob years later, uh, it was the exact opposite. The exact opposite, anyways. Sorry, someone just came home. Uh, and he would control every line that I actually drew. Um, and I learned a lot because most of his critique was actually classical, is from that side. He was looking at the way lines harmonized, the way that they moved around each other in space. Um, and, he was really strict. It was hard for people to work for him from that perspective. But for me, I took it as a learning um, experience. And yeah, it was difficult, but I really enjoyed, and I have just a happy memory of what that was because I learned a lot. So, and part of me came out of that, right? Um, yeah, I wish I could see more work from Rob actually these days. I know Rick is retired. Rob is still. Um, he wouldn't be in that world. He might be getting there actually near retirement, but I wish the entertainment business allowed someone would allow him to do what he does uh, at the level that he does it. But we're not in that world anymore. So a digital world. Uh, this is me just drawing on a big piece of paper. I felt like drawing uh, in a soft way. This is this kind of drawing right here. This level is a lot of fun because you're literally just you're barely touching the paper, and you're allowing your hand to move in rhythms, right? A lot of fun. A lot of people think that I know anatomy very well, but the truth is that I just know rhythm and function. I do know anatomy, but not to the level that they think I am like a, you know, you're talking like a doctor or something, and I don't care about that. I only wanted. That's why I mean I look at certain work and they're overly tied to the anatomy of a man, and they can't escape it. They just that's what they know, and that's why you see these creatures that are monster men. You know, it's a man with fancy hands and a fancy head, but the anatomy is identical to that of a bodybuilder because they can't escape it. Um, they're not drawing from their imagination. They're literally just copying other things and smashing them together, essentially like what AI is doing now. That's the level of their imagination. That's why, in my opinion, I never thought there were many creature designers out there. There are only a few, like a handful, because the rest were literally just doing what AI is guilty of doing now, which is just lifting other people's stuff and just layering it and coming up with versions of that and throwing it on, you know, on something that it knows, that you know, right? Um, so there's nothing new that comes out of that. This was actually done for a class, a rough done for class, talking about a very anthropomorphic creature thing, but playing with you know stuff to keep some. And now, based on what I just said, this is now the intent was to try to keep some areas familiar and other parts not. And how do you do that? How do you make something that can actually act and function, right? It's not that easy, right? But I mean, even say like this, right? You think it looks like a human only because it has the shoulders and the knees and all that, but it actually, none of that's real. None of that is, if you saw that on a person, you would think they were an alien, you know? Um, I was just drawing in. It was a new sketchbook, and I just started sketching. Uh, I'm sorry for the orientation here. And let's see, I can't change the orientation, I don't believe. Let's see. There's that. And you saw that he's holding on to that character right there. Um, this is my zombie eater drawing. Um, I just came up with the idea and felt like drawing it. That's all. He's this creature that exists to eat zombies because there's zombies in this world that I had to say, okay, well, if there's zombies, then there's going to be another creature that comes up to eat them. So that's what this is all about. Um, yeah. This I had started because I had was asked to put something in a Bernie Wrightson show, and it was a homage show for Bernie after he had, I think he was in the hospital actually, and so the what I had started, I had screwed up this one drawing that I was working on, which I can't fix, so it's just gone. And so I had started this one, and I got a little bit too realistic here, and it wasn't as fantastic and crazy as I wanted it. So I went there with the background characters, um, and had fun in the Bernie Wrightson way. Um, yeah, this drawing, I gave this drawing actually to my friend, an old friend. This is actually for an idea that I had about these um, beings that created the giants. A science fiction movie or story, I should say, of the giants in history on Earth, and I wanted to make it science fiction. This is, I think this was before Prometheus or just after, but this is the Six Fingers, all that sort of stuff. So I was just screwing around, and this drawing came out of that. Sorry for the orientation. Let's see if I have that one here. There it is. This is still part of a story that I'm actually working on and been writing. Uh, but again, I don't know, if I'll ever finish it. I can't say that anymore. I hope to, but yeah, I don't know. Fun story though. Again, these are part of my captured series, little sketches that were leftovers. There's another one. This guy's arm is taken, and his vice is behind him, and that's the kite that he pulls around. The kite of his vice. This one is like a giant insect on his back and is sucking the life out of him. This one I called Pac-Man, just because it looked like a Pac-Man behind him. Giant root that's taken her over. um, Misery, and beautiful soft colors of her misery. It's just colored pencil on this sketchbook. It's we were selling it for a while at I think it was at who was it? It was one of those Targets or Walmart. Actually, it was Walmart that had it. They don't make it anymore apparently. You have to really dig around for the sketchbook. Um, but I bought a stack of them for myself when I found that out. So I have them probably for the rest of my life. I'll have them here. So uh, anyway, more on that. These are more vices. Uh, his is deflated because it's all inside of him now. This one has got this guy by the and in his gut. You guess his vice. Um, this is again that grainy paper that I was talking about earlier that I'm not too fond of, but I still try to draw in that book because, like, again, it's a really nice book. It's another drawing for that book, from that sketchbook. Here are my tiny sketchbook and little drawings that I would do every night after work. Just shapes. This started as an aftermath to my work that I had done on the movie It, and it kept me going because I had discovered a way of working that I liked a lot. And it's more archival than any of the previous work that I had done. So I just started working in mixed graphite on this paper that is archival. So this is a blue graphite. It's graphite though. Um, and what I did is I ground it down to a powder, and I just applied it here and then erased out, and then used standard graphite to draw over that, and erased out. And it's just graphite. This is that paper that I don't like, that I still work in for some reason. I can't let it win, so I have to own it. It's a bigger drawing, actually. Um, Again, just an experiment, playing around with stuff. Another bigger drawing. And this may have had some color that was left on the paper stained, and I left it and then started drawing over it. So that happens a lot with the bristle board. This is a neomorph type of character. I just felt like every once in a while I still feel like drawing from that project because it's a childhood favorite of mine. I was 14, I believe, when the movie came out, and I lost my mind. And back then there were no videos, there were no, you couldn't rent it. The only way you could see it was at the theater, so I had to take every single aunt and uncle that would get me in the theater because I was underage. So they would take me to the theater to go see it. I would tell them how cool it was, and they were just excited to, want to hang out. Fortunately, they were cool that way, and we'd go see it. So that was, 8 different aunts and uncles that I convinced that they were going to see something really interesting, and they did. It was good times. This is based on the unused beluga head character for Prometheus that never made it into the film, which I wish had to this day. I think that it would have been far more interesting than what they did with Fiefeld. Um, and this is not a dig on anything other than I just think that this would have worked better. That's all. Because honestly, Ridley, it was one of the best times that I've had working on a film, working with him. So that's all I got to say about that. There's a little creature. This little drawing, anyways. That's just I think this is wax pencil, but again, you can see how I smeared it with the cotton ball there. And I did the same with this one. This is a bigger of the little drawings, mixed colored graphite, just drawing. Same thing here. Yeah, a lot of these I was just screwing around after hours, felt like drawing. Loosening up because I had been under orders to do stuff and I was just tired of drawing. So I felt like drawing something that meant nothing at all other than just form exploration and then having fun with that. Because, a lot of the time you're working during the day and it's all about meeting the requirements for the project, and they're not easy. I mean, you're fighting through trying to find that thing and still make it look cool, something interesting, and it's not always conducive. I mean, some of those, the descriptions don't always give that up that easily. So you might have some descriptions that are just um, they don't help you at all. They don't offer any inspiration, and you're trying to literally you're mining for water in a dry area at times. So you know what I mean. So drawing for myself is alleviates that, and I can just get back go away, then come back to the problem at hand, and have new ideas because I just added stuff to the bank by drawing for myself, right? Uh, this is graphite on a big piece of bristle, and then marker inks and markers. That's all this is. That was actually pretty fun. I would love to do more of this, but whenever I get to. There's too many things I want to do. There's colored pencil in here too. And this is just a drawing I felt like drawing. There's something really interesting here. I like the idea of this, all the stuff that was going on, and I think a lot of this was done on my iPad. And then I cleaned up a little in Photoshop, but barely at all. So in Procreate, I believe it was Procreate. But I just like the idea of this thin kind of transparent layer over this head. That's fun to me. And that would be like a lesser version of this guy. This guy would be the lesser version. I don't know what they're for, but they definitely are together. So something's there. I'm drawing on my iPad. I'm not going to say exactly that these were for what they seem like they're obviously for, because they were versions of for something that for that project. uh, yeah. Yeah, these characters were never even given the time of day, I believe. So, but I thought that what they are obviously for, as you can tell by the uniform, um, I didn't have any. They were really unresolved, the versions that I gave. So this is the much more resolved version that I did for myself, as was this character. This is an early version of an idea for the whole Captured series. Um, and this guy was literally attacked by his vice. It came at him and just dominated him. Uh, again, started for a project that went nowhere. For us, anyway, literally nowhere. It did get made as a movie eventually, but had nothing to do with what I have here. Um, so, not paid. I did these at home, so they're mine. Well, this was mine anyway. So, uh, and then I kept on going based on the idea and drawing more stuff for it. These were also for a project that never happened for us. Did these at home, so kept them again. Uh, yeah, I'm not even going to say what they were for originally, because they were only versions of what these are here. They were line drawings essentially, like what you see here in this small, you know. And I took them and illustrated them here. And this is just something I did for myself, just screwing around. I always liked the character Calabac, Dark Side, Dark Side Sun, Dark Side Sun, I believe. Always loved that character and his proportions. So this is just me screwing around in a boxing match between two characters. Original rough was done on that phone page that I showed earlier, um, and thought it'd be kind of, my opportunity to do that. I'm a huge Guyver, the idea of what the Guyver is fan. I like the idea of it. I like the animated series quite a bit, story wise. Um, yeah, but like the all the stuff like that Steve Wang and the guys had done, that whole idea is very cool, and I love all the heads that Steve is doing of the Guyver that he sells, maquettes of the character. Very, very cool. Um, yeah, these are just drawing screwing around with shapes. Prismacolor on a big sheet of paper. Trying out markers here. This squid-headed character. Uh, this is me just wanting to explore line. Um, I would draw this way for animation at times, but not this detailed, so I felt like going there um, for several drawings. I'm still playing with this in my head, so I may do more. And I just like the decorative aspect of it and just going this way and having fun. Um, Again, I'm just challenging myself to draw in different ways. One of my favorite artists of all time is Mobius. And one of the reasons why is that Mobius knew how to edit his style down to a line, right? And then he could take it all the way up to render and do painting, you know. But he would actually live in the mid ground where he'd have simple line drawings and then do phenomenal color with the Doc Martin inks that he liked to work with, and these beautiful saturated colors. And that's the stuff that everybody knows of him, right? He stayed in that middle ground. But he could edit that down even further to simple, simple line drawings. Um, I mean, the guy was a genius, you know. So yeah, big. So that's I want to keep that alive in myself. Being able to edit myself down to line. These are not simple because I don't want to draw that way with these. But yeah, the that would be the big challenge for me is to actually uh, draw simple characters like that. But if I did, that means that they would have to be part of an environment for them to make sense. Because them on their own would be boring, as would his line drawings of characters. And it just standing there, it just wouldn't be interesting. It would have to be in at least something indicating an environment for it to mean something. So again, these are based on that whole Guyver animated series. I just kept on drawing because I just like the idea of what those characters are. It's weird. It's weird enough. It's cool enough. There's certain projects that are like that. I like the idea of, uh, you know, like the xenomorph. I like the idea of what that is. I like the idea of the thing. I like the idea of Venom, the character. Um, I had a great time working on the first movie of It, um, and enjoyed some of the drawings I had done for It Part Two. But yeah, I like the idea of what that character is. So that's really interesting. Um, yeah, there's certain projects that just keep me there for a while. This is just screwing around. I felt like drawing something. It's another Vice character captured, um, and his Vice is literally a rig that he's not in control of, that controls him and makes him do stuff. Now, which is very manga-esque, very anime, right? And it's just screwing around. These are all little drawings in a little sketchbook now. These are after hours, just sitting there sketching and playing with medium markers, and pen and ink, ballpoint pen. The Man of War head character here, which is actually evolved and turned into something else, but not this character in particular, but the idea of what that is. Just drawing again, based on little shows that I'm watching as I'm sitting there after hours. Pen and ink markers, just screwing around. This is all the same. Actually, these are the same sketchbook. This is another sketchbook, another small sketchbook. Um, this is, and these are part of the same sketchbook. That's the same. There are the arms of this character over to the left in the book. It prints it out, so you have it across 2 pages. So just screwing around. I had this shape in my head. I wanted to see it. Kind of fun. Graphite and color erase pencil. This is a wax-based pencil, and I have always had this idea of this character that was never quite settled in its structure. So it would always be moving around and reforming and blooming, and I haven't been able to get anyone to make it though. I think it'd be too expensive. I tried it for Men in Black 2. Instead, they went for that idea with the Serlina character, which is what it is. And just going around with throwing down the color first, and then drawing over that. And this was for another project that I just had a flash of an idea and felt like drawing for it. So that's all this is. And then a couple of sketch pages that were like phone sketches. You're drawing while you're on the phone, or you're just screwing around while you're doing something else. Anyways, that's Rosca. And yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys like that kind of exposition of this book. And this is the bigger version of it, Rasca White. And I'm hoping to, like I said, put this one together again. Well, it is together, but I'm going to do a couple tests with the printer and see if the quality level is there. That's what I'm trying to say. And if it is, then it will be available again soon. And there it is. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, I'm there under my name, Carlos Huante, or Gallery Anatom. And you can see, if you get on either page, you could see that the link to the other page. I'm Gallery Anatom and under my name, Carlos Huante. Anyway, there it is. And thanks for listening in. And I will see you next time.